Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Aaron Diaz, and you're listening to episode number 31 of Live the Good Life from the podcast studios of Aaron's Wine Chronicles corporate headquarters in Richland, Washington. Today, I am joined by my brother and co-host, Adam Diaz, and we will bridge the topics of law enforcement and living the good life. For this podcast, we are very fortunate to have the opportunity to visit with one of Eastern Washington's top law enforcement officials. Because we are in the middle of the city and county election process for various municipal and county elected positions, Adam and I will be using this platform to interview and offer our support to our guest, the next Franklin County Sheriff. Along the way, our listeners and viewers will get the opportunity to know and better understand the plans he has for Franklin County moving forward, and better understand the roles and authority of a county sheriff and how that applies to our daily lives, our safety and security, and essentially our quality of life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the current undersheriff of Franklin County, Mr. Monty Huber, to the show. Oh, you brought a large contingent of fans with you.
Yes, I did.
So,
first of all, I'd like to thank Adam and Aaron for inviting me here to share my vision about the sheriff's office and to understand the good life and share my thoughts on that. I do appreciate that, and thank you very much.
Awesome, good to have you here. So, I want to thank you too for taking time out of your day to come down and join our podcast. I know that not only in your daily life you're busy, but now on top of that with the election and everything, you're 3, 4, 5 times as busy. So I'm really happy that you had the ability to meet with us today. When we first thought of having you on the podcast, I started to think about how law enforcement and an unbiased, consistently applied justice system relates to living the good life. In some recent conversations that I had with a friend of mine, he reminded me of his recent experiences, like within the last 6 months or so, he was on a vacation with his girlfriend in Southeast Asia. And immediately it became apparent to me that there really is no good life without a solid law enforcement and justice system that really underpins the safety and security of its citizens. So this guy's name is Kevin. And I worked with him for many years at PNNL when I was a scientist before I retired. And we've continued our friendship, and he and I and Adam tend to go out and enjoy the good life quite a bit. Every couple of weeks or 3 weeks, he's over here with having cigars, and we're talking about life. And one day he told me this story just recently about how he and his girlfriend had traveled to Southeast Asia. They happened to get on this tour. It's a motorcycle riding tour of North Vietnam. Now, things have changed since the late 60s and early 70s in North Vietnam with tourists and other things like that. So they had been warned a couple of times that, it was a large group of people. There were probably 40 or so plus, give or take 5 or so, riders on these bikes, and some of them were actually following, not in bikes, but in vans, and it was a sightseeing type thing. And if you were on bikes, you could go off the beaten path a little bit and check things out. Anyway, apparently it's just beautiful in North Vietnam. And they were warned, though, that along the road, there's going to be a number of checkpoints. And at these checkpoints, anything can happen. Just be calm, go along with the flow, so forth. And they can ask for money, and it's best to give them money and these kinds of things. And so as it turns out, there were, people from the UK, Australia, people from Canada, other countries in Europe, all in this group. And they go and they get to the first checkpoint. And it became obvious that once the people at the checkpoint realized that they were American, they actually started extorting them. And so they said, hey, you need to pay this and this and this. And they didn't argue with it the first time. That happened again later on down the line. And then at the end, where they turn around and then they come back to their starting point, they realize, these folks are not dumb. They have this plan. They see these tourists come in all the time, and they get to the end, and now it's $150 a person. And if you don't give them the money that they're asking for, they're going to keep your passport and your driver's license and the motorcycle that you rented. And you're in another country where you're not going to have a really good time if you don't, right? And that happens not just in North Korea, but I'm sorry, North Vietnam, but it happens in places like Mexico. I mean, we've all been driving. I used to go to Mexico when I was in college and stuff, and the motorcycle cop would ride up alongside you and he'd start talking to you and he'd want money and you'd give him $3, $4, $5 and he'd be off, right? I mean, that's just the way it worked. And that was Tijuana, right? But I mean, you go to other places and you drive, and I have friends who have driven deep into Mexico because they have family there and stuff, and they say it's not uncommon to be extorted by the police. So I'm thinking, I'm listening to him tell me this story, and I'm thinking, that's it. Here they are on a vacation, trying to tour, sightsee, and enjoy, the beauties of this country. And every step of the way, law enforcement is taking advantage of them instead of doing what law enforcement would do here in the U.S. or any civilized country. I mean, so it really pieced together for me the bond between having solid law enforcement and a judicial system that protects people and living the good life, because you can't have that living the good life if you don't have an organization, a mechanism in place that protects people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, that is one of the things that really brought it together for me. And I take it for, I've never been to North Vietnam. I don't think I'm going after hearing Kevin's story. So anyway, for the audience, that's something that I hope that you keep in mind now as we move forward here. Before we really get started, the audience also might be interested in knowing that my co-host Adam actually has some history with Monty, as Adam for a few years actually was a captain at FCSO, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, and Monty was there too. So I'll turn it over to Adam, and they can talk a little bit about their history together before we get started.
Well, I left being a chief of police in Toppenish, and then I went back, and of course Jim Raymond hired me as a deputy. So you're going from an administrative position like that, and you're back on the road, in a new environment, and you're learning, of course, software and geography and where.
And you mentioned Jim Raymond. For the audience who doesn't know, Jim Raymond is the current sheriff of Franklin County.
Correct. Yeah, and he's been a long time administrator. In Pasco PD too. So he comes with a lot of years of experience. So and it wasn't too long as I was getting to meet people from different squads. One thing they did, which I really like with their FTO, is they moved around. You get to work with different squads, and everyone wanted to be on this guy's squad, on Monty's squad. and the Monty's squad was actually very proactive. He'd get these guys really getting out there and doing good stuff. When you start talking about like everything from being a team and working together well and being productive, somehow he managed to do that, and he could also, keep it fun, but they knew when to be serious. There was that. It was pretty clear when things were serious. Let's get the work done, guys. But it wasn't so stringent that you forget to have fun along the way and have good times with the guys you work with and try to do it safely. And the happier you are on a squad like that, the more people,
want to gravitate towards you and be part of it. Yeah.
And so I was really excited when they moved me around and I ended up jumped to Monty's squad. And funny stuff. He'd have some good one-line zingers right back at you. Quick-witted, he'd catch you on your heels if you weren't ready. And so you had to be careful what you said. But yeah, he was good people. And I was fortunate enough to be able to promote. I promoted to lieutenant and then eventually to captain. And then he promoted too, right alongside. So before not too long, you were a commander, I believe, before about the time I retired.
Yes.
So I've been out of it for like 3.5 years or so. Between 3.5, getting close to 4. So and so it's been a real pleasure working with you. I know what you're about, and but there's a lot of our listeners that don't, or people are wondering. So maybe it's our opportunity to be able to shed some light on. I have some questions for you, and we'll just kind of go through them, and we want to know about you.
Absolutely.
And what you bring to the table. So
absolutely.
So for the sake of those listeners in our audience who aren't familiar with you, let's talk a little bit about how you got started in law enforcement, and briefly kind of take us through the chronologically, or the order rather, of things throughout your career as you progressed.
Absolutely. I was thinking during this whole campaign process as to what brought me in this business, and if I'm being completely forthcoming, when I was a teenager, I took martial arts, and my sensei, that's karate language for you, was actually a city police officer, and the sensei that was above him was a state trooper. So maybe they planted the seed back then.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't choose that path. After high school, I chose the military, which ended up working out well for me because it gave me that solid foundation of leadership. I spent 12 years in the military, and I got to really learn and understand what it takes to accomplish missions and take care of folks and do all those things within the parameters of the military. And because it's military and law enforcement is paramilitary, it was an easier transition for me coming out of the military and going into law enforcement.
What branch of the Army?
I was in the Army.
Army?
Yeah. I was infantry. I was the guy that carried the heavy pack and walked a long ways. And, I had the opportunity to jump out of planes and attend Ranger School, which is
cool.
the toughest military leadership school that you can attend. Great foundation for me, and a lot of those things carry over to today. That when I'm trying to mentor and coach my folks and bring them up to leadership positions, I have that great foundation, and I actually had an opportunity to teach leadership while I was in the military. So
That's awesome. You were a drill sergeant too.
I was.
I remember you telling me that. And when this guy, he was so funny. I'd call him.
Anytime you say drill sergeant, you think of that guy that's on the commercials all the time,
jacket.
a full metal jacket with the
yeah.
And he's yelling and cussing, and these guys.
Whatever his name is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have certain?
I had no stress when I was a drill sergeant because I kind of left it all at work. But yeah.
Did you have any one-liners that you would tell the young cadets or recruits or whatever they were?
Some that I probably can't say, but I did have. You become a master at one-liners, and that's what Adam was referring to.
Okay.
With the sharp tongue, and it's kind of. It's interesting because it's in the moment, and most of my kids are grown, but I do have a teenage daughter at home that, fortunate for her, she has my personality, and she's able to do that as well. So I kind of get a taste of my own medicine.
That's awesome.
But yeah. So I actually had to wait because the Franklin County Sheriff's Office wasn't hiring. And I ended up waiting about 2.5 years to get hired. During that time, I worked up at Coyote Ridge with the Department of Corrections. So I got the Corrections Foundation, which was great. A different set of skills. You're not armed. You don't have all the tools that you do on the street. So you have to actually learn to talk to people. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
And then during that time, I reserved for the sheriff's office. So I got to know the folks, and they got to know me. And then when an opening came open, then I got hired for full time in 2004. But worked my way through the ranks. Started out in traffic. Always liked to teach. That was my thing. So I became a handgun instructor, a defensive tactics instructor,
cool.
and then a training officer, and then leadership was always ingrained. So I always sought out the leadership positions. Got promoted to sergeant, had my own squad, and that's the hidden gem in a sheriff's office, is to be a sergeant. You don't realize how good you got it until you're not one anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I got to do that for about 3 years, and then I got promoted to captain so I can catch up to Adam, so we could be captains together. Yeah, as a captain, I relied on Adam a lot because he had that administrative background, and I just jumped in the deep end. I had no idea, and initially I tried to get everything done before I left for the day. You're there until 8, 9. It never gets done.
Right.
Yeah, you got to just leave it on the table.
Yeah, you prioritize.
There will always be work.
It's a weight.
I don't even. It doesn't matter really what line of work you go into. The same thing with what I did for my career. You can't do it all. You got to wait, come back the next day because it'll always be there.
Right.
So,
and my other thought was there's not enough work here that's going to keep me in the office for 8, 9 hours. Well, there's more than enough. So, because the plan is, as an administrator, you get out with your folks. You get in cars, you get out with your folks, and you stay connected that way. But man, you can get lost in the office,
Yeah.
And then I got promoted to commander, and dealing with policy and personnel issues was completely different than going out and fighting crime. Now you're dealing with inner issues, and you're dealing with governing the body. And that comes with its own set of unique challenges, so having that background has helped prepare me for the next step in where I'm at now and running for sheriff. And then I got promoted to undersheriff.
When was that?
23, January 23, I got promoted to undersheriff.
Okay.
And to the sheriff's credit, he's let me manage the day-to-day stuff, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And I honestly, right now, I'm the only candidate that has that experience. I mean,
yeah.
And Adam knows it.
Yeah, and you've been through all the stages.
Yeah.
That department, it really helps.
Yeah,
it really helps.
And we police like police, but the sheriff's office is completely different than a police department.
Yeah.
I mean, to what Adam said about, you going through all of the different phases and stages of the sheriff's office, and now you're, at the top, essentially.
Yeah.
And that makes so many other careers that you can get, whether it's education, you can be a teacher for like a year or two, and then boom, you can be a principal somewhere. How does that happen? I mean, you should pay your dues in the classroom with the students at different levels and really understand teaching and all that before you become a manager, you know what I'm saying, a principal or a vice president. That's the way I think. And it's not just education. Yeah. There's so many other lines of work where you can go in and do like 1 or 2 years of something, and then all of a sudden the clouds part and this person becomes elevated 2 or 3 levels above what they were without the experience and understanding what it takes to do those jobs.
And they often fail. They're just not ready. They're not prepared. And that's one of the challenges facing law enforcement today, especially on a lot of departments. What's happening in Seattle, some of these big departments where they lost a whole bunch of high-level commanders to retirement, leaving, going to other departments. And man, when that starts happening, if you don't have some succession plan in place, your department takes a hit, and that's when you start seeing some big problems.
And that's the advantage that I have with the sheriff's office is there's no loss of continuity of leadership. When the sheriff retires, we have folks in place that are just going to step up. And January 1st, we're ready to go to work. We don't have to sit and figure out how things work or what resources we have. We already know that. So we're ready,
Most organizations in any line of work you go into are terrible at succession planning.
Yeah.
Terrible. I mean, it was terrible at the national lab that I worked at. I mean, somebody just decides one day they're there, and then they step down, whatever happens, they're gone, and nobody was brought along to replace them. And so it just takes a toll on the team, on the project progress, and all these other things. Succession planning is huge, and you're in the perfect situation for where you want to be.
I am.
Really, you are.
And we have great folks that that I've had an opportunity to watch them grow up. In the sheriff's office, I know what their capabilities are. I know, and Chief Hornberg from Kennewick Police Department gave me this piece of advice a long time ago: put the right people in the right places, and then you support them with training. And you will have a great organization. And I know who's going to fit where, and I know what it's going to take to bring them up and help them, because that's what you want. You want to be successful, because not only does it save tax dollars, but it provides the best service to the community, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, well said. So I have another question for you. So in your opinion, and we kind of touched on some of this, but in your opinion, what is the single greatest challenge facing law enforcement today? How has it affected your agency, your community, and what steps do you believe are necessary to address it?
So I mean, there's a few things. We addressed the change aspect of things, but it's the mental health and the drug addiction and the response that the deputies have to do when they receive these calls of these folks in crisis. Honestly, they're not trained. They're not mental health professionals. But what do you do with them? We got into this business to help people. And then it becomes frustrating when you can't offer any assistance. And for a long time, that was, you either took them to jail or you took them to the emergency room or you just left them, because those were your options. I actually got to be a part of the citizen group that presented the 1/10 of 1% sales tax to the commissioners. That was, they supported unanimously for the mental health. And then, now we have the mental health wraparound service now we have a place to take folks. We can plug them in and we can get them the help they need instead of locking them up. I mean, Granted, sometimes
it's inevitable.
Right.
Yeah.
But which, positively impacts obviously their lives, but the community as well. And you can see evidence. You drive through any city in the Tri-Cities and you'll see, people sleeping in doorways.
I was just in Portland a couple of weekends ago, and inner city Portland, over. Didn't matter where I was. Yeah. It was terrible. You had these people that were obviously on fentanyl, and they were contorting their bodies, and it was just weird. It was like a sci-fi movie or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Back on what you were saying earlier, I think it's critical that officers be trained in how to identify when somebody may be going through a mental health crisis or something like that. But on the other hand, quite often an officer comes onto a scene or a scenario and they don't have much time to make a decision as to what to do because this person is acting erratic, and maybe they only have a split second to determine whether or not they're going to come at them and they have to use a weapon, or maybe they have a weapon with them and they're forced to make a decision instantaneously. That in and of itself doesn't bode well for the situation, but you can only do so much, and people don't understand that until they've walked the walk of a police officer in that situation, right? Where it's your life or the life of somebody else in a split second. Because Adam has always told me when they were doing their training, Adam and Jason at the academy and all these other things, they were like, if a person has a knife and they're within 15 or 20 feet of you, you don't have enough time to even draw your weapon. They'll be on you and stick you with a knife before you can get a weapon, even if you had a weapon on you.
Absolutely.
And 15 or 20 feet is a fairly large distance a lot of times when officers come onto a scenario, right? So you got to give the officers some slack. Every time there's something that happens, the media, everybody comes down and they're like, oh, this guy's he's got to be, fired, and he's got to be put up on trial and all of this kind of thing. Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah, so you're talking about split-second decisions.
Yeah, what can you do? I mean, even you may be able to train your officers to be able to identify these types of situations if they have enough dialogue and they can see things and, okay, maybe I can defuse the situation or whatever. But oftentimes they're not given that chance, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like somebody's just going to throw a rock the size of a softball at you, or they're coming at you with a pipe or a bat or who knows what, a machete, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It happens.
Yeah, and that that's the other piece of the challenges for law enforcement is as you put the deputies in these high stress situations, and it takes its toll on you.
Yeah.
So you have to as administrators, you have to have things in place. You have to have outlets. You have to have resources for your folks, So when they do feel overwhelmed, then they have, so we have a peer support buddy program that I established in the sheriff's office, and the expectation is they check in with one another once a week. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's new, right?
That is new. That is new. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then the other thing is, we have a chaplain that comes and rides with, whoever they want once a week.
Nice.
So
they get to have a dialogue as they're driving around.
They do. Yeah.
That's
it's
kind
huge.
of like counseling and therapy as you're driving around doing your job, right?
Right. Yeah. But sometimes just talking aloud of what's going on really helps.
Yeah.
Good
point.
And then, I've always been open and had an open door policy with my folks. Hey, something's going on, come, let's talk about it. Let's get you plugged in to whatever you need. Because if you don't, then people start leaving. Or they start using their time and they're not coming to work, which leaves the shift short, which puts additional stress on the folks that do come in. So having that balance.
Yeah. Good point. So let's talk a little bit about your career accomplishment, looking back over your law enforcement career. What accomplishment are you most proud of? And I know there's probably a lot of them, but if you had to kind of prioritize, what made that moment especially meaningful, and what did it teach you as a leader?
And back when I was doing it, I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I just did it. My son was in the 4th grade, and he's 30 now, so it's been a few years. But when he was in the 4th grade, once a week, I would go, and sometimes more than that, I would go and I would have a group of kids for lunch. And I started out with probably about 6 kids that teachers identified in the school. Hey, this kid has got some things going on. It'd be nice to have a male figure in law enforcement that can maybe shed some light and squash some fears that are happening at home and different things. And we had great conversations. So, I started the school year with 6 kids, and I didn't really have a name for it, but by the end of the school year, I had 36 kids.
Wow.
That I met for lunch. And then, forward several years, I had a deputy that would fit that, had that personality. I'm like, hey, you're my big buddy guy. I want you to put together this program, which he did. He did a great job. And now he does it in Mesa Elementary. He goes at lunch like I did that many years ago.
I remember that program.
Yes.
I remember that when I was there, we were taking time to go and sit at certain schools way out there, in the county, North County too.
Absolutely. And, just having that connection with kids, and if you can talk to a group of, well, we do 5th and 6th graders now, but you can talk to 5th and 6th grade. You can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it really helps not only the kids, but it helps the deputies.
Yeah.
And to this day, I will see the original group of kids that I had lunch with, and they have their own,
they don't forget, man.
They do not, and they have their own kids, and they're like, that was a great thing back then, and that was, that was one of my most favorable accomplishments.
And that's awesome.
And and it wasn't something that I wanted recognition for. It was just something that I did.
And you don't realize, I think, until later, the impact that really has. I had so many programs like that we did when I was chief at Toppenish, and we did mock scenes, and we had youth programs. We had a summer academy for kids. We did so much that when we developed a big Explorer program, we had those guys in uniform with radios, and they were out. and at events. So they were supporting the police. We had officers out there with them. And
I remember supporting that program. I came down to Topless, remember? And we brought a bunch of instrumentation, equipment that they could use for
science.
That was fun too.
Science, we had classroom, we had DEA. My other brother was in DEA, so he had some great presentations. But your impact is huge because it's not just the kids. Yeah, they get older and what have you, but the word gets around to their parents, to the family. And then, more importantly, also, when you're in those schools, the school personnel seeing you. You're not just a stranger or a guy in uniform there to take a report. They know you. They're asking for this guy because he's the guy that comes in here with the kids. He has lunch, and they know you by first name. You know?
Absolutely.
And there's that comfort, and they open up to you, and they just like having you around. And it does what for the sheriff's department? It's
huge. Yeah. Actually, the deputy is doing now. He has, when you walk into a school, they have photos of the faculty. He's up on the wall with them. So he's part of that team.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a great thing.
It's not part of this actual question here, but one of the things I wanted to ask you that wasn't here is, I don't know if it's asking you a question or making a statement, but one thing that I've noticed about you is looking into your social media and the things that you've been doing over the last many months, and probably much longer than that throughout your career, but you're just highlighting it now on social media because of the election and all that, is that, like Johnny Cash, you've been everywhere. I mean, you get around in your county. I've noticed this, and I didn't see it. I haven't seen it from any other candidate.
Right.
You go out to the little places like Colotus and these little places, and you meet the people, you talk with them, you walk amongst them, you get their feedback, and you listen. And that's really a big deal. I mean, more people, not just, county sheriffs who are running for election, but city council members and other people across the board need to do a lot more of that. And you seem to be really ahead of the game. And it's something that I want to commend you for, because I noticed that you're everywhere. You're getting around to all, and Franklin County is a diverse county. It's got, the Pasco municipal area, which is pretty big, but then you've got a lot of small little towns and very remote areas. Adam used to tell me about some of the places he had to cover when he was out on the road at Franklin County. And he was like, man, sometimes, wintertime and you can't see anything and it's just snow, blackout snow, and you're driving to a call. You don't know where the ditch is, and and you don't know where the roads are.
Literally stuck. Yeah,
it's crazy the diversity that you have, both landscape wise and also demographically.
Yeah,
and so you've got a lot on your plate, but you can't please everybody all the time. But you're doing your best, to get your face out there and to listen to the people's issues.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantage of having been there for the past 23 and a half years is I've got to meet a lot of folks. I mean, there's a lot more folks that I need to meet, obviously, but I have built relationships over the years that are the best, and we are very lucky and fortunate to have the community that we have because they support us. Mm-hmm. And we have a foundation, a sheriff's foundation that raises money. That
Good folks, yeah.
They're great folks. They do an excellent job, and we just had a fundraiser mid-July, and the outpour of support from the community is just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
And some of the bigger agencies, the Pasco and the Kennewick and their foundation, they do a great job. But they're like, how is Little Franklin County raising so much money? We are, because we're supported, and in
people
exchange,
are stepping up, man.
We go all in for our community, and we have, and that's always been the push. I've had the pleasure of working for two sheriffs, and they're both well connected in the community. Two totally different leadership styles, which I have my own as well.
Yeah,
but the common denominator in all of that is, we serve our community, and there's no exception.
Right. Yeah. Great.
Something to be proud of, for sure.
You have to. So, if elected sheriff,
Win.
When Sheriff, I love it. You got to stay positive in this game, don't you? What is one initiative or program or improvement you would most likely implement or expand during your tenure? Why is it important to you, and what impact do you hope it will have on your deputies and the community you serve?
We do, and we're very fortunate, and I've said it before, we do a lot of great things in the sheriff's office. And, you know, when elected sheriff, my focus is to continue to do those great things. We don't want to lose anything, because our service to the community is by far the best, and it keeps getting better every year. But also at the same time keep building on that, and we can keep building on our training platforms. And one of the biggest things that we really need some growth is officer wellness, and that used to, you know, back when I was in the military, if you shown any sign of lack of mental toughness,
weakness, that's how it's seen.
It was seen as weakness, and more often than not, then you were discarded. And that was, you know, and it, having the opportunity to go to conferences and visiting with other leaders in law enforcement, and recognizing, hey, officer wellness is a real thing, and it's unless you put things in place, you're going to start losing people, and we're seeing it, you know. Yep. So, as the next sheriff, I'm going to make sure that I have things in place that is going to provide that assistance for my people and keep them healthy, because healthy people do great work.
Yeah, longevity, right?
Yeah,
and so where it's two steps backwards is, you know, when you're replacing people with someone new, instead of investing in what you have, you're losing something. I mean, you're losing the experience. You're losing everything you put into them, you know, and you're starting from scratch. And that's where sometimes you get your best leaders, is from the pool of the people that have been there for a while, and they know the place. They knew it better than I did when I was there. And great guys too, man. I remember Ledoux and I getting into pursuits and doing some stuff, and he's like, spotlight his face, you know, and we spotlight this guy and get him off and chase him down and arrest him. We do the fun stuff, but then we were also out there doing community stuff, and they knew everybody. They're walking into the schools, and so I started doing the same thing too. I was out there and going to the playground, talking to the folks, getting out into the community, you know. And you guys are still doing your national night out.
We are.
Yeah, up there. Is it Basin City?
Basin City is coming up.
Man, yeah.
Actually, election day, it's coming up. Yeah.
That's awesome, yeah. And, you know, you do the parades and all that stuff and show up, and it's good that people like that. They like to see you guys out there and supporting them and stuff. And I think that's important. I really remembered that about when I came to Franklin County. Guys were really welcoming, and you had a lot of guys that have been there a while, and then they're starting to disappear.
Yep.
And when they go, you're right. What you got on your plate now is with these younger guys coming in, and it's a whole tougher game. Law enforcement today was not like it was back in my day and in our day, back when you go back to the 90s, early 90s, you know, the mid to late 90s.
I can't go back that far.
Hey, that's a low blow. You see what I mean? He does this all the time. But it just, as it changes, I mean, you need guys, adaptability. It's huge.
Absolutely.
And but no, I think you're on the right track. And you're starting to see a lot of agencies develop programs, even like little stuff like you guys did, like with a little gym there.
Absolutely.
And that could always be expanded on, but I did the same thing when I was at Toppenish, you know, so that guys could go there and work out and stuff.
Yeah.
And just sometimes kind of get that stress off and not have to worry about, I'm going to get my workout in, you know, after shift or whenever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of neat to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, good point.
You know, officer good life. I mean, officer wellness, not officer good life, but it could be similar.
It could, yeah.
But I hear you say officer wellness. That's really important. But I also, you've talked about people, both the people that you serve and the people that serve under you.
Absolutely.
And yourself. And it's all about people. That's the recurring theme that I hear. And that's pretty refreshing, because people who are running for elected positions, not just sheriffs, but, city council members and other people, you don't hear them very often focusing on the people.
Right. Yeah.
The people serving and the people receiving that service. You know what I'm saying? And that seems to be one of the main bullet points in your existence.
Absolutely.
And I think it's critical. I mean, it's probably the most important thing. Without the right people, without the right healthy staff that you need to do your job, you can't do your job and serve the people the way you want to, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, it's just this circle, and I just want to say, hey, I'm just commending you again for, you're saying all the right things. You're doing all the right things. And that's part of the reason why Adam and I support you for Sheriff of Franklin County. It's just part of it, but.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we got another question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask this one because it happens to be my forte, living the good life. Our podcast obviously is focused on living the good life. And we talked a little bit already. We covered the importance and the critical role that law enforcement plays, as well as our justice system and the people like you, how it plays into actually living the good life. You really can't have a life living the good life, doing the things that we love to do, unless you really have a foundation that allows you to do that. And that foundation includes law enforcement and justice. But what I'm really dying to know is, you're a person just like anybody else. I know a lot of cops. I've known a lot of cops. I've known a lot of, yes. Because both of my brothers are in law enforcement their whole career, I've happened to become friends with all of their friends, basically.
Absolutely.
Right? And and we've had barbecues together. You guys are no different than anybody else.
Absolutely.
You just happen to have a role and some authority and weapons, and you have a mission that you have to do. That's it. Just like when you were in the Army, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So, okay. What I'm dying to know is Monty Huber, the person. What is your perspective on the good life? So let's talk about how you define living the good life. And for my brother and I, it's kind of like spending quality time with family and friends and enjoying gourmet food, especially Wagyu steaks, fine cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Really great Washington wines. We live in the Napa of the Northwest, really.
Absolutely.
And so we have great wines, and there's so much more that we could put in there. But what does living the good life mean to Monty?
Absolutely what you said. Family's the foundation to a good life. I live in Eltopia, so I have my mini ranch, if you will. It's
really?
About 3.5 acres, and it's I have 2 horses, and I currently have 2 cows out in my pasture, and I like to sit out back and have my old fashioned and. Depending on how rich I'm feeling that day, whether it's Woodford or Blanton's.
There you go. Blanton's, yeah.
Yeah. So I have my old fashioned, and I got a great quality of steak on the smoker, and I'm looking out at the cows, and I'm like, hey, yeah, I got steak on the smoker. That's the good life, and you have to, in law enforcement especially. I mean, there's a lot of high stress careers out. Don't get me wrong. But you have to unplug, and that's my unplug. That's my reset, and you got to do that. So that you can stay sharp.
Well, I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, law enforcement is. I mean, every time they come out and they say, "What are the top 3 or 5 careers that are the most stressful and where your life after retirement is the shortest?" Right? It's a physician, like these brain surgeons and cardiac physicians, whatever, and it's law enforcement always up there, number 1, 2, or 3, and it's maybe a few others. But the 2 are medical, like these PhD these doctors who are doing these very, very intricate surgeries. One little move wrong and somebody dies. It's very stressful. And law enforcement's it's not the opposite, but it's stressful in a different way. And you're putting your life on the line every time you strap up and you go and you get in your car and you go to the office. You never know if you're coming back or not. I mean, it's like It's almost like military, right? When you're in the military, it's very similar. If you get deployed, you don't know if you're coming back or not. And so that stress builds up in people. And, it means that you have to deal with it somehow during the course of your career. Because if you don't, and you let it bottle up inside you, it will manifest. All that stress manifests as disease, aging, whatever else it manifests in, and you don't want that.
Absolutely.
So I think living the good life is something that all law enforcement needs to take seriously.
And I think Monty failed to tell you that if you were to walk out there by his couple of cows in his pasture, there's probably a bunch of golf balls out there. Just like you're going to trip on them because he's probably,
that's your driving. Is that your driving range too?
Well, yes, it is. But good thing I'm a lot better at law enforcement than I am golf.
Hey, the thing is, we're close though. We're very close.
We are close.
Whenever we hit the golf course, it's a coin toss. So
sure.
Don't get any better. Give me time to practice more. But anyway, so Aaron has a few things to say to wrap up the episode here eventually. But before we finish, we're going to be enjoying a sampling of 4 amazing Wagyu steaks. And in this group of steaks, there's going to be a Japanese Wagyu ribeye. There's going to be 2 Australian Wagyu ribeyes, an American Wagyu gold ribeye cap, and then strips of Australian Wagyu bavette. All fantastic cuts. I know there's going to be some marinade too on
2 of them,
couple of them, yeah, and then dry spices on the other, and some of them have been aged properly with salt and what have you. Oh my gosh, it's going to be good. I just know it's going to be good. And Monty, I want to offer the mic to you, just kind of give you the open mic to kind of say whatever and take the opportunity to just kind of help us on our wrap up and.
Remind our audience of anything that you want to convey to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything on your mind, now's the time to do it.
I have, like I say, 23 years with the sheriff's office. I've worked in every facet of the sheriff's office. I promoted up through the ranks. I am prepared to lead the sheriff's office into the future starting January 1st with no learning curve and without disrupting the continuity of leadership. We have great folks in the sheriff's office. I'm excited, and it's other than putting up signs, it's been haunting me in my sleep. These signs everywhere, and every time the wind blows, really hard, you're like, oh, did my sign make it through the wind? But the rest of the things in terms of connecting with the community, I've been doing that for a lot of years, and I enjoy doing that. So that part of the campaigning hasn't, it's been good for me, and having the opportunity to meet folks. And I would encourage folks that don't know me to go to my webpage, go to my social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and look. And if you have questions, then by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to answer your questions, because I think informed voters are the best voters and decide what's best for Franklin County. And the office of sheriff is so important that you put the right person in there.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you guys very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you all for listening. And Monty, thank you for your years of dedication and service to the residents of Franklin County. We fully support your candidacy for Franklin County Sheriff, and we wish you the best of luck during the upcoming election.
Thank you.
That's all we have for today's episode. Again, for more of Living the Good Life, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Aaron's Wine Chronicles or online at aaronswinechronicles.com. And for a video podcast version of this episode, visit my YouTube channel at the @ Aaron's Wine Chronicles 6666. Thank you all for listening, and remember, wherever you go, whenever you can, always live the good life. Until next time.